What's up, traders? Anthony Crudele here, and thank you for tuning in to the Futures Radio Show podcast. Today I'm going to talk about two markets, crude oil and Ethereum. I am very bullish both of these markets right now. So in today's show, I wanted to come on and show you my process and reasons why I got long both of them today in full positions. Not often do I get really full positions in my swing trades. Most of you know I'm a day trader and I'm in and out a lot. I actually rarely talk about any of my positions on the podcast, but I wanted to talk about these two markets because two of my favorite setups happened today, very similar setups in both markets. And as you know, I always say, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to tell you how I think. And hopefully that'll help you guys out as traders. Remember, Futures Radio Show is sponsored by CME Group. They are the world's leading and most diverse futures and options exchange. CME Group's markets help individuals and businesses around the world effectively manage risk. For access to free educational tools and resources for the active individual trader, please visit activetrader.cmegroup.com. You can listen to Futures Radio Show podcast anywhere where podcasts are available. Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts. But if you want to watch Futures Radio Show, check us out on YouTube or go to anthonycrudele.com. And I should mention that today I am going to be using some charts. So if you are listening on one of the audio-only podcast apps, you may want to head over to YouTube to see some of the charts that I'm posting on these markets. This show is also sponsored by Trading Technologies, TradeStation, and FTSE Russell. The Russell 2000 is a key benchmark for small cap U.S. stocks. Be sure to check out the E-Mini Russell 2000 futures symbol RTY and Micro E-Mini Russell 2000 futures symbol M2K. To learn more about FTSE Russell and their products, please visit FTSERussell.com. All right, traders, let's get right into it today. Before I pull up the charts on crude oil and Ethereum, we're actually going to start with crude oil today. I want to quickly go over why I'm hopping on a podcast and specifically talking about these two markets. And it's really because, like I mentioned, I'm in a full long position in crude oil right now and in Ethereum in my swing account. Many of you know I am a day trader and I am day trading multiple markets. These are not day trades I'm looking at here. These are medium to longer term trades. Longer term by my standard could be weeks. I'm hoping to hold a trade that long. Anytime I get into a swing position, I want to be able to hold it as long as I possibly can. I'll get into that a little bit today. And ultimately, the reason why I want to talk about these two markets is because think about how many shows I've talked about this year. Inflation. And we've talked about that, like how to play it. What we're seeing is a hedge against central banks with cryptos. A lot of that was Bitcoin, but I've talked a lot about Ethereum on the show and how I have been a holder of Ethereum. And we're just in a commodity bull market. You know, I've talked with Tavi about this, Danielle DiMartino Booth, Shy Girl, list goes on with people I've talked about that so far this year. So I wanted to come on and actually show you some setups that I am personally trading. And these two just really set up so well for me. And I think you're going to learn something today in my process and how I think as a trader. So I want to pull up crude oil first. Like I mentioned, as I'm pulling up crude oil here on the charts, everybody, if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts, or wherever, you could definitely go and check us out on YouTube to see what it is, some of the charts that I'm showing. So I'm going to click now and show you my screen. Let's go over to crude oil. Here, all charts that I'll be showing you today are on TradeStation. And first chart I'm pulling up for you is crude oil on a daily. So let's go over this. Here we have crude oil on the daily chart, and I pulled it up going back to October from last year. And I want to take you back and I want to kind of work my way through this, how this trade set up and really how my thought process has been along the way. If you watch my Develop Your Edge show every Sunday, lately I've been talking a lot about the 10-day moving average. It's really just a simple tool I use to determine how strong of a trend that we're having. And I use crude oil actually as the example in that show. And when you look at what crude oil has done really since October. The red moving average is the 10-day moving average. Just grinding up, holding above it. Very few moments below it. Also on here, you have Bollinger Bands, which are in the yellow, and you have my indicator, which you could download for free at anthonycrudele.com/TradeStation. And you'll see the pink lines are resistance, orange is my neutral, my middle area, and the two blues are support. Pretty simple, right? The green average you'll see here is the 50-day moving average, and the pink or magenta, that is the 200-day moving average. So now you know everything that I have up on the chart. Really not a ton here. If you go back and look, when was the last time, and you look at my indicator, I talk about how orange is my neutral. And like I said, here's a daily chart of crude oil, continuation chart. When was the last time it even traded in orange? It was back in November. I explained how it's been really holding above the 10-day moving average, just chopping well above it and just continuing to go higher. And not a single test of orange, my neutral. And really, so if you don't know what this is, if you haven't heard me talk about this, whether it's on the podcast or Develop Your Edge, neutral is 50% between the peak of the Bollinger Bands. So I think it's important to know that. So orange level is 50% between the peak of every Bollinger Band. The top pink and the bottom blue are just lines drawing from the peaks of the Bollinger Bands. And then the second blue and the second pink are 30% and 70% lines. So the pink is 70% of the range between the peak of the Bollinger Band, and the blue is 30%. Okay? Pretty simple. And I'm not here to talk about my indicator, but I think it's important that you know what I'm looking at on the chart. So it's been since November since we saw a test of orange. And look what happened. What was it? Maybe a couple of weeks ago, we had this big move in crude oil. Finally had to move down to buy. And I am somebody who's not really a big day trader of crude oil, but I am a swing trader of it. That's why when I saw this recent move set up, I was like, man, I have to get in. And I have been waiting for a test of orange or blue to be able to get into crude oil, because I like to buy pullbacks. I'm not a momentum trader. I don't trade the breakouts. So as you saw here several days ago, we broke down, hit the 50-day moving average. As I said, it was in the green. And then we hit my blue lines. As of today, this morning, came in at 59.61. You could see right here. And the green moving average, the 50-day, was right there. Immediately started a small position here. Started to creep up. Got back above the 10-day moving average, closed above it for the day, which right now comes in at 60.97. We're officially a buck above it. I should also mention, you see like this bright or teal blue, aqua blue line in there. That's just the VWAP, and I like looking at that as well. Now, we are now back above all of that, okay? And this is not just a technical thing that I'm seeing that's happening here. It's why do I want to be long crude oil? Yeah, technically this is showing me everything I want for a long now. Targets are going to be 62, 67 is my first neutral. Honestly, I'm not even really looking to take much off there. If anything, I'm really looking for 65, 74, and eventually 70, 33. I think that's where we're headed. I don't know how long that will take. And I might be in and out of futures during the day. There's a lot of different ways I'm going to go about trying to stay in this position. I won't be using options, but if I'm using futures mostly during the day, and even some ETF plays or other ways to be able to be long, get exposure to long oil the best way I can to manage my risk, because I think this recent low is it now. I think they're done. I go back to my interview with Tavi Costa. We talked about inflation a lot and how the commodities are really in a bull market. Talked about it a little bit with Danielle DiMartino, Booth, and Shy Girl last week. And I think, and Shy Girl talked a lot about this, commodities are in a bull market, okay? And nobody that I really talk to or listen to thinks that inflation is not imminent if it isn't already here and it isn't coming in a big way. I'm not a macro guy. I'm not here to tell you what to think about that. I listen to people much smarter than I am, and then I go to the charts to prove it. And I told you that crude oil finally gave me an opportunity to get in. Here's a pullback, and we had a decent move off of this high, held every single level. And it always goes back to the responses. Held the 50-day, held my light blue. All daily closes above it now, back above the 10-day, back above the VWAP. I mean, what more do I want? It's giving me everything I want. Showing me my targets, right? My targets are my levels up top, 65, 74, 70, 33. Like I said, there's a lot of ways I'll be managing this trade. What ultimately matters to me is really where am I wrong now? Now, there's a couple ways that I'll look at it. Because I'm in a full position already, if I see a violation of this low of 58.32, this is the May contract in crude oil. If it takes that out, I'll be out of half my position. If we get a daily close below 59.61, let's just say intraday it rips down there, takes out that low, I'd be out of half. Daily close below 59.61, then I got to be out of it until it regains and closes above it. At that point, it'll be closing below the 50-day, below VWAP, below 10-day. It'll be closing below everything, so I know I'm wrong and I'm not going to get stubborn. But in the near term, I'm going to do everything I can to stay long and stay in this trade, because I think that we go back and look for that recent high, which comes in at 68.01. So intraday, if I'm trading it intraday, I'll even be only trading it to the long side now using my short-term charts. Talk about this in a swing position. I'll be holding it multiple ways. You even have E-Mini Crude Oil that you could use as well. Lots of different ways to get exposure to crude oil market. You don't have to just use the big contract, because I know that could be pretty expensive for a lot of you. But that's the way I'm looking at it. And, I also go back. Let me make this chart a little bit tighter. And I like to go and do homework to see, where was crude oil way back when. And what I was also looking for was, let's go to drawing, pull up my horizontal line. And I just drew horizontal line right here. Okay. And then I drew another horizontal line right here. And for those of you listening on audio, I'll tell you where I drew them. And basically that's where I was looking at it right there. Okay. So roughly 59, low 59s. You go back to July of 2019 all the way through the end of to the beginning of 2020. We were in a range roughly low 59s, high 58s, up to right around 70-ish. Okay, right? So if you're not seeing this on the charts, you could just visually know that's the range I'm talking about. Well, that's what we just went back down in. And to me, we're back in that range. So we got almost to the top of the range, came back down, tested the bottom of that range. And now all of my indicators, everything is lining up. And like I said, I have a macro theme behind it. I've been looking to buy breaks in crude oil. Like I said, you don't have to be a macro person. You don't have to agree with these macro people out there to know that crude oil has been in a bull market. Look at what it's done since, March or April when it made that low. Probably the biggest headline besides COVID last year was probably what happened in crude oil. Obviously, stocks were a big story as well. But let's face it, this move in crude oil, unbelievable. And the move is for real. It's barely pulled back. You finally get one, and then I notice a lot of people also start to get bearish, which I find to be pretty funny as a trader, because it's like, everybody was, a lot of these guys that you listen to were bearish the whole way up. It shouldn't be up here, and then it breaks, then they get more bearish. And I look at it and go, well, it's proven to me on the bull side that it's holding everything. What more do I want? So my thinking is this, to recap this, why this is one of my favorite trade setups. Macro theme. I'm not a macro guy, but I listen to a lot of very smart macro people. I have them on this show. Pretty much all of them are bullish crude oil. Okay, in a macro way. I look at what's happening here in the technicals. I'm now getting proof of it, right? We've had proof of it. It had a pullback. It held support. I'm getting support from it. Go back and look at the range we were in, July of 19 to the beginning of 2020, in a nice range there. I think we could continue to be in that range, right? You have a bull run followed by a macro theme. And then I also go back to last week. I wrote some notes down last week. I said, we had a build in inventories and the market broke a little bit and then rallied right away. And I looked at that and said, the reaction is bullish now. If I start to get some technical confirmation on my daily, that's an open door for me, a green light to go after that as a full position. And today what was amazing is that I was using not just futures, but other ways to get in long. This is, like I said, this is a full position for me. I have a lot leaning on this position. It was actually running away from me. It was actually even hard to get any pullbacks today to get in the position. And that also is confirmation for me because the market is not giving me everything I want. I had to pay up a little bit on some of the prices I bought and some of the ways I got into this position. So it's really everything I want to see is there. Will it work out? I don't know, right? But I know my risk, and I think, like I said, what's important is that I'm showing you how to think, not telling you what to think. And we'll see what happens. As I'm recording right now, crude oil is roughly 61.94, had a really strong close. I think in the coming days, any sort of breaks down to 59.61, which I honestly probably don't even think we'll get. I think tonight we probably see 62.67, which would be my neutral. And I'll watch the reaction off of that. And these things are always, in motion. I'm going to be in and out of this, but I think ultimately my bigger targets are 65.74 and 70.33. And that's what I'm playing for. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is, but I wanted to show you this process. And once again, I'm not here to tell you to buy crude oil. I'm not here to tell you anything like that. I want to show you my process. Some of you don't trade crude oil, but you could look for a setup similar to this in other markets. This is one of my favorite setups. I'm going to pause now for 30 seconds. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you guys about Ethereum, which is another market that I'm in. Full position today, long, and there's a little extra twist that happened in that market that I really like for a confirmation. So hang tight, I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Replace your exchange with TradeStation Crypto. Dealing with multiple exchanges is complicated and it takes time, except with TradeStation Crypto. Because we are not an exchange, we are a broker. You have access to multiple pools of liquidity, all in one platform, in one account, one way. Trade crypto your way, plus earn interest on your eligible cryptocurrencies. Get started in one click.
Trade the global markets with Trading Technologies. TT is the world's fastest commercially available futures trading platform, now with integrated tools for advanced options trading, cryptocurrencies, and trade surveillance. Learn more at tryttnow.com. Welcome back, traders. Now we're going to talk about why I'm so bullish Ethereum and talk to you about my process for being long a full swing position in Ethereum. Now, I should mention that I have been long Ethereum for a while now, and I continue to accumulate it, but this is going beyond the little bit that I've been doing in the accumulation. So part of my trading with Ethereum is I just want to own it. There is just so many reasons why, and I'm going to talk about some of them today, why I've been owning Ethereum. Now, some of you are going to say, Anthony, you can't convince me to own any of these cryptos. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm here to show you a setup, and I'm telling you how I think and why I like this setup. I don't care if you think cryptos are for real or for not. Doesn't really matter to me, but the whole process that I go through in making these decisions is really been a huge part of my career and how I've made money. And I want to show you my thinking behind this stuff. It's like not every market that I trade do I have to believe. First of all, cryptos, some of you may not believe in, but I have to believe that I'm right in what's going to happen in this market. I'm not here to try to be right in anything. A lot of us talk about that on social media. It's not about being right. It's about making money. It's about watching what other people are doing. I remember a trader, Chris Haymeyer, a legend in the futures industry. He's been on my show years ago. I have a ton of respect for Chris. I mean, he's just really, like I said, he's a mentor, a friend to me. I asked him what he thought his edge was, because this guy is always ahead of the curve in everything he's done. I've known him for a lot of years. And he goes, Anthony, when I see a line, first I ask, what line are they in? And then I see how many people are in line and why they're in line, right? And then I typically, if I see this line growing of people, then I get in that line. And that type of thinking is interesting to me because look what's been happening in crypto. Starts off, slow. The line keeps growing. More people are getting in it. Doesn't matter what you think about it. More people are using it. You don't have to trade it. I'm not telling you to trade it. I'm just telling you what I think and what I see. That's it. So what happened today? Ethereum, right? First thing I saw when I woke up this morning. So I went to Google here and I just put in Visa and Ethereum. You could see a bunch of headlines came out. And I'm going to take you to this one with Binance. Over 12,000 likes already. And let's click on this. And it says Visa announced that it is accepting the stable coin USDC for payments. USDC in what it is called a major industry first in bridging the worlds of digital and traditional fiat currencies. The company said that USDC can be used to settle a transaction with Visa over Ethereum. Visa is talking about Ethereum. That's pretty bullish, right? So when I saw this, and I've been bullish because a lot of the NFTs, which I think are completely crazy, I'm not here to talk about that, but they're using Ethereum. I'm hearing and seeing Ethereum all the time. Okay, well, if that's the case, well, talk about what Chris Haymeyer told me. He goes, if you see a line, first see why everyone's in the line. Is that line growing? If it's growing, then maybe I jump in. Now, everybody tries to be perfect and early in this stuff. I don't care about that. I just want, like I said, I just want to make money, right? So when I start to see things like this, things being talked about more and more, I take interest. And, I've been interested in Ethereum for a while now. And I've talked about it. If you listen to the show, you hear me talk about it all the time, actually. So I'm going to go back and share my screen now. I want you to take a look at the charts. So that headline came out today. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in is when headlines coincide with technicals, you get the biggest moves. In my career, I have seen this time and time again. When a headline, a bullish headline happens in a bull market and that market goes up, look for that market to keep going and make highs. A bearish headline comes out in a bearish market, look for that market to continue to make lows. And if it doesn't, then that tells you something in its own right. But if it does, that move can keep going and it could be powerful. Okay, right? Simple thinking. What am I seeing here? In Ethereum. Remember in crude oil, I said I like to go back. I'm going back all the way to November of last year in Ethereum US dollar here. When was the last time it traded in orange besides, what was it, the beginning of March, end of Feb? Literally, I had to go all the way back to, I have to shrink the chart here a little bit more to see it, all the way back in October of last year when it hit my orange. Remember, my orange is my 50% line between the peaks and the Bollinger Bands. You can download these indicators for free at anthonycrudele.com. Also free on TradingView. Actually, I trade crypto using, one of my accounts is using TradeStation and trading it on TradingView. So anyway, it's been that long. And I've been buying it small because, it's been in this bull market. Talk about the 10-day moving average, and I just want to own some Ethereum. And the math behind that with the stops is a little bit different. I've just been owning it small, basically not really looking to cover these in stops, not really trades, more owning it and just putting, some money into it. That changed this past week. So first things first. 50-day moving average. Yeah, I'm using technicals on crypto because, well, you could talk about using fundamentals, but I mean, we're getting headlines, and to me, that's it. It's hard to get actual true fundamentals, even though there are gas fees in Ethereum where people that are using it have to pay a gas fee for it. That's one of the things that's always intrigued me about Ethereum. Comes off, makes this recent low. New levels came in for me. 50-day moving average. Also look at, when was the last time Ethereum was on the 50-day moving average? November of last year. It's a long time. Finally came down near it. I didn't do anything in here for a trade. I did some accumulation. Over here, the last day or so was really where, and today, where I got into a full swing position. Now I'm in because of the headline, because it showed technicals are holding, and this is what I'm looking for. Held the 50-day moving average, held my orange, got back above that 10-day, cruising above 10-day, and actually my average position right now is pretty much right on the 10-day moving average because when that headline came out, they were starting to push above there, and accumulated as many as I could, full position, like I said. Where's my stop? Daily close below 1528 in Ethereum. That recent low here right now comes in at 1545. I would look to exit that position. And I take my lumps. I could be wrong there. But if it works out, where are my targets? Well, it already hit the first, not really target, but my first area is 1830. And because I had to buy into a rally here, and this is something that I like to do when a headline comes out like what happened today, where I'm actually having to pay up because now everything's being confirmed. I wasn't fully getting in back at the 50-day because I just didn't have enough with this headline coming out, getting back above the 10-day. Looking back at the chart, it looks really good. I think that it can continue to go now. And like I said, because I already own some, that it kind of helps me because we're back near highs. So I just stepped in and said, you know what, you're getting into this position. And even though the target was relatively close, and sometimes the best trades are already underway and you do have to pay up for them if you want to get in. I don't want to get the best entry now. Because if I do, then I may be wrong because I almost wanted to just stay bid. So the minute I see everything I want, I just take them. And that's hard to do. That's with experience. And this is part of why I want to talk about this today, because I really should have been in a full position. And you look back and say, why didn't I buy them all at orange? Well, I didn't have headlines. It wasn't above the 50-day. I didn't have everything I wanted. Now I have everything I want. So now I have to look at where's my risk versus reward here. I still believe that low is a good low to hold. Actually, somebody I think a lot of you follow too, Trader SZ, he did a thing the other day on Ethereum. Totally agree with what he showed. He's great to follow on Twitter, especially for crypto stuff. And he was showing his way of thinking, and I was like, man, that looks really good. I'm already long some Ethereum, and he does great technical analysis work. Got to have you back on the show, SZ, if you're listening anyway. And I just so many confirmations to become bullish now. Where do I think they could go? Well, the recent high, the all-time high, 1974 is the recent high here. And when you look at the recent high of 1974, I said it at the beginning of this segment. When you get headlines coinciding with technicals, you look for them to continue to make highs, and you look for those moves to be bigger than you think. No way I would step in front of this thing right now. Wait till the public, more and more people start seeing these headlines. Like I said, Visa talking about it. I think that this thing could go up to 2284. That's really what I'm looking for. I think that there's a lot of potential to go up to that area. So now I look at it and go, that's my top level. And a lot of times what I'll see is when we take out highs like this and you start to get volatility, especially in crypto, that's the one thing about it, is that it goes, man. And so I look at it and say 2284 is really where I'm looking at. I think that there's a lot of upside potential in here to get there. And, I'll shrink the chart a little bit like I did before. And actually, you can't go back too far here with TradeStation. It didn't have it, but not much I was going to show you there, to be honest with you. But I just wanted to shrink you and show just the velocity of the move. But when you look at it, these moves are just running away from people. You see it in Bitcoin, and we're seeing it in some of these other coins. I only trade Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Sometimes I trade the other ones, but that's what I'm looking for. 2284 in Ethereum. Very reachable for me. My risk versus reward and my stop. Everything really lines up. And like I said, know where I'm wrong before I'm right. Goes back to, why is this another, I'm going to recap it a little bit. Why is this a trade that I'm in a full position? I like bull markets that are runaway bull markets. I think that we're seeing more and more headlines, more and more talk about it, coinciding. So you have headlines coinciding with technicals in a bull market that finally reverts back into trend, gives you an opportunity that you haven't seen in months. Nobody wants them when they pull back there because they think the move is over, right? Because it's been months since we pulled back, and then everyone thinks the top is in. Then you all of a sudden get this headline, and it starts pushing back above all of these technicals that I've been looking at. And fortunately, I was accumulating a little bit around my orange, so it just gave me even more of a green light to get into a full swing position here. And really, I like to press things that I think are working well. And when I see a market like this, that's what I'm looking for. Once again, I could be wrong, but this is my thinking. And, I like trades like this. I like trades that make me pay up to get in. I like trades that have headlines that are coinciding with technicals. I like primary bull markets that pull back in a trend where people all of a sudden struggle to want them. They're not talked about, and then they get talked about again in a big way like we saw today. These are scenarios I look for swing positions. Also going back to, now let's just say I didn't trade Ethereum on the swing side. Intraday, if I'm trading it, I'm only looking for longs now. This is something I look for in NASDAQ, S&P, Russell, gold. These are things that I really look for to help me not only with swing positions, but intraday. And it's important because to explain this stuff to you guys, because I think that, so many people talk about just buying these coins or just buying certain markets. You've got to have a process behind it. And I think one of the hardest things to do is when you see a big bull market like we saw in crude, like we've been seeing in crude, and like we're seeing in Ethereum, Bitcoin, NASDAQ, you feel like you miss it. And you feel like every time it pulls back that you want to get bearish. I don't like that trade. I don't like the bearish trade in these runaway bull markets. Obviously, there's so much stuff going on with the Fed. You hear me talk about this stuff a lot. I'm not a macro show, but that to me, all of these things going on with these markets that go so much further than we ever thought they could. The markets are always changing. Are we always adapting? Everything is about momentum now. So I like these pullbacks that are big pullbacks with momentum, and then hopefully that momentum is followed back to the upside. I thought that was kind of going to happen in gold. I've talked about this. I got my butt kicked in gold, got run over in that trade a bunch of times. Fortunately, I've been buying the cryptos. That's been working for me, mostly in Ethereum. And now I'm in crude oil and some other markets I've been doing. But it's like, look, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The point of the matter is know what you're looking for. Everyone talks about patience. These are setups I like. I wait for them and I take them down. You also hear me talk a lot about you take advantage of markets and moments. Well, these are moments I like. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to click to get out like a man, like a responsible trader. I'm going to take my risk off where I should. I'm going to take my loss where I should. But these are trades I really like. And hopefully you learn something. And the way I like to trade as a swing trader, and these two markets just really, I think, set up very well for me today. This week is a shortened week for trading. It is Good Friday coming up. I do celebrate Easter. I know some of you do, some of you don't. If you do, I wish you all that do celebrate a wonderful Easter weekend. This will be the last podcast for me for the week. Actually, no Develop Your Edge this weekend as well. Sometimes you need to just kick back and relax, play a little golf for me this week. Here in Florida, take some time, spend some time with my family. I will be watching Ethereum and crude oil and doing some day trading until the weekend, but we'll definitely use the weekend as time off. If you don't celebrate Easter, I still wish you a wonderful weekend. Take the time off to relax, breathe, take some time off, and just and heal the mind, heal the body, do something fun. Hopefully good weather by some of you that are up north, and you get some opportunity to go outside. So last podcast for the week. Actually, best moments will come out for March. Ton of great stuff this month on Futures Radio Show. So I'll be putting out best moments, and if you get a chance, tune into that this weekend while you're chilling. Have a great week and weekend, everybody. See you next week. See you next month. Cheers. Thank you for listening to Futures Radio Show. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review on iTunes. You can listen to all of our episodes on futuresradioshow.com, iTunes, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.